I think this is a great move. I think this is a great idea by Coach K because you want competition. That's what you want. And these are the best basketball teams in the country. The ACC with Duke and North Carolina. And then you got obviously the Big East. We all know St. John's is becoming a world power. It will be with Pitino there. There's a lot to see. And then we have Villanova. There are so many good teams in the ACC and the Big East. Now, as far as football is concerned, I don't know how that works. It doesn't matter because the SEC is always going to dominate, so it really doesn't matter. But all in all, ACC, when it comes to basketball, ACC and the Big East has been the best over the last 15 years. It really has been. So I think it makes a lot of sense, and I think Coach K makes a valuable point to where college basketball is going now. And especially now, the NBA thinking about not forcing players to go to college. Yep. They're talking about maybe just taking that out again and letting high school players go right into the NBA or go to the G League or go play international ball and make more money. So they're trying to take that out again. And that's what Adam Silver's doing. You know why? Because big mouth LeBron James. That's why. Because LeBron rules. And when LeBron James came out last year on his, what's that thing? When he sits in the barbershop, and he came out and said, why should players have to go and play college ball when these players don't have money, their families don't have money? They should be allowed to do whatever they want with their careers. If they're 19 or 18, they're good enough to go play NBA basketball, they should be allowed. Well, guess what? As soon as he said that, Adam Silver's already trying to negotiate something in the new CBA. It's going to happen. And again, we're going to watch crappy college ball because all the great players are just going to go right to the NBA.
Yeah, I like this for a lot of different reasons. First of all, I know you mentioned the football thing. I don't think it's as much for the competition for them to actually win national championships, but the revenue that football usually is the moneymaker for a lot of schools. So I think that'll help a lot of those programs still grow. I love it for the fact of the coaches too. Remember, look at all the ACC coaches that have just retired recently, including Coach K. Jim Larinaga in Miami just announced his retirement, Roy Williams, etc. I think there were like 6 total. So they're going to have to get that kind of reputation back. Why not combine with the Big East, which has a lot of great coaches, had a lot of strong programs to make that kind of thing work, get the competition scheduled right away. And the third reason, and I discussed this with you earlier, Fish, you're going to reunite a lot of good rivalries of the old Big East. A lot of the ACC schools like Syracuse, like Louisville, like a lot of those schools are Pitt. A lot of those schools, they're going to rejuvenate those rivalries again, where I think it's going to really be good for the product and the viewership of college basketball. And I think it's going to make a lot of things work. You need to be able to get these power conferences to work like it is in football too. And I think like Coach K was saying, the depth of the ACC, while they're still very good in the tournament, they still are very pesky. You saw NC State go to the Final Four last year, and you saw Duke and obviously established programs. But like the depth of the conference is not the same as the Big 12 and the SEC. And the Big East, like he was saying too, gets a lot of money to be able to flourish and grow their programs even more, where they're not going to dominate transfer portal because they're more program building teams. They're still going to get the revenue they need, the money to grow in a Power 4 ACC conference.
Yeah, I think this sounds great that Coach K said it, and he said this would be a great super conference. But I think the logistics and everything else, there's just too many teams, Title IX, everything else to deal with. Like I just don't think this is ever going to happen. I don't think the Big East is going to sign up their market share with the ACC on basketball. I don't think the ACC is going to sign away their market share with football. It's just too much hoopla in the middle of everything, and I think Coach K is just saying this to stay in the media, but I don't think it'll ever happen. There's just too many teams.
Well, if anyone can come up with a great idea, it's that man. Coach K, Hall of Fame coach, he did everything in his career at Duke. He had different generations of great teams. Go back to the early 90s, the famous, and I'll put the clip for you, one of the most famous clips in all of sports history, the great Kentucky Duke last second Hilda Leitner. We're watching it if you're following along with us on YouTube right now. That was the first generation. Then you can go to the Jay Williams and Shane Battier group that were, JJ Redick at the beginning of his career was at the tail end of that group. Now, they were some really good teams as well. And then you go forwards, you have to the one and done era. He was able to get it done there too. He's been able to achieve in all the different versions of college basketball you had. But I would argue, and a lot of fans argue, that The version of that early 90s was the best version of college basketball, of the 80s when the Big East was the king. When you had those rivalries, to get those rivalries back again would be everything to college basketball, especially, and I didn't hear anyone bring this up, the NIL money is pretty big deal right now in the mix of this. I don't think a lot of people are going to be opting to come out of the draft to try to be a second round pick when they can get more money going to college and being big man on campus. I think that's going to change the ball game completely, and I think they should really think about that before they make this new CBA. It might be kind of redundant and unnecessary.